Welcome to the Surviving Siblings podcast. I'm your host, Maya Roffler. As a surviving sibling myself, I knew that I wanted to share my story, my brother's story. I lost my brother to a homicide in November 2016, and after going through this experience, I knew that I wanted to share my story and his story. And now it's your turn to share your stories. I have another incredible surviving sibling with me. Dawn, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And today you're going to be sharing your story about losing your brother, Justin. So take us back in time, Dawn. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Tell us about Justin. Tell us about yourself. And I know you have another surviving sibling as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
So to start off about myself, I'm 45. I actually celebrated my birthday 2 days ago, so I'm freshly 45. I grew up with a visual impairment, so my life has been a roller coaster of things. Living in the 80s with the visual impairment, it was very difficult. But I always had Justin having my back. He was 4 years younger than me, but a lot of people thought we were basically twins. We were two peas in a pod, had the same personality, really goofy, loved playing pranks. Like you said, I have another brother. He's 3 years younger than me, and we just loved pranking him. Like one time, Justin and I, we got up early one day and we turned all the clocks up, and Jason thought he was late for school, and we're laughing, eating cereal while he's rushing and he thinks. So we did things like that all the time. And around the time I was 14, my parents divorced and then they both got remarried. So I have a huge extended family basically growing up there.
I love that. I relate to your story in the sense that I'm the oldest too, Dawn. I think you probably know that now. And a lot of you guys listening know that. And there's a middle sibling in between my brother and I, and we were pranksters too. So I definitely
Mm.
can that part of your story. I get that. My brother was definitely a prankster. So I love that. So tell us, if you don't mind sharing a little bit with us, Dawn, tell us a little bit about your visual impairment. Tell us, you were born with this? Can you share that with everyone? Yeah.
Basically, I was born with what's called congenital nystagmus, and it's basically a muscle reflex where my eyes don't have control of how they move. And I had a lot of surgeries that were very experimental in the 80s. Some of it was fixed, but unfortunately, a few years back, I had a really bad eye infection. I've actually lost my vision in my left eye from
Wow.
a complication, but I never let it stop me. I live a normal life with it, with accessibility tools, so I don't try to let it define me like I used to when I was younger, but there are still times that it can bother me.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think tell us a little bit about you and Justin. How Justin's your baby brother. So
Yes.
how
Mhm.
as you were growing up, was he really protective of you because of what you were going through? And tell us a little more about your connection. You were pranksters. I love that. But tell us a little.
Yeah, he just never treated me like I had a disability. We're always close. We had a lot of the same interests, whether it was like playing video games or going to the movies, going to amusement parks like Great Adventure. We were coaster junkies, stuff like that. We loved doing all that type of stuff over the summer.
Love
And
that.
he was very intelligent. He was a valedictorian when he graduated high school.
Oh my gosh. No, you guys were 4 years apart. So were you a senior and he was a freshman when you were in high school? Or
I
what did that look like?
When I graduated, he went into high school.
Got
So
it.
we just like missed each other when I
Mhm.
left high school and went into college.
We have so much in common, Dawn, because it was that my brother and I were 3 years apart, but because I was young for my grade and he was older for his grade, we missed each other too. Like he went
Hmm.
into high school and I went into college. So I
Yeah.
connect with you on that
Hmm.
too. Yeah.
Because my other brother, he was a freshman as I
Hmm.
was a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally connect because my sister was in school in high school with me too because we were only a year apart. We have a lot in common. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
the stories I like, even at his funeral, like I told so many jokes about pranks I played on Jason. And one that was really funny since my birthday just passed was that when I turned 25, my Jason, he gave me this card that said, "You're old." And I said, "You just wait until your birthday on the 23rd." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Just wait." And at the time, Justin was a pharmaceutical like tech at CVS. And he got a fake pill bottle. We filled him up with Mike and Ike's, and we put on like a fake label saying for baldness because my brother started losing his hair.
Oh
And we
my
were just
gosh.
rolling on the floor when we gave him the gifts. So this is the type of antics we were up to
I
all the
love
time.
it. No, thanks for sharing. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. It's so funny. I
And
connect with that.
I told this story basically at the funeral. So, and everyone laughed, and that's what he would have wanted. He wouldn't want people to cry. So
Yeah.
I told a funny story during my eulogy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I think that's so
Yeah.
amazing because we have
Mhm.
a lot of you guys listening are sometimes people are like, what do I say? Or what I love that you stayed
Yeah.
really true to who Justin is,
Yeah.
even and
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw the pictures I sent you. We did a prank during my wedding too. I don't know if you saw that picture that I sent
mhm,
you.
mm,
Basically, the tradition where you throw the bouquet and then you do the whole garter thing.
mhm.
So what we did is that we blindfolded the person who caught the garter, and Justin then sat in the seat where the girl who caught the bouquet, and he actually shaved his leg and everything. It was the best moment of the night.
That is so funny. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That gives us
Yeah.
a really good insight into your connection and
Yeah.
your relationship. I love that. So tell us a little bit, take us forward in time
Mhm.
because you obviously lost Justin in 2013 and we're going to get into that in a few
Mhm.
moments, but tell us a little bit about Justin because you had shared with me before we started recording that Justin got into gambling. And so tell us a little bit about that and his personality and how all of this happened, because that was an evolution. And as the older sister, I'm sure you have a lot of insight into that.
Well, for me, and when I go through the whole story, I actually did not realize how bad it was, his gambling. I did not know. I knew he liked to gamble, like sometimes go to the casino, but like I gamble, I go once in a while, blue moon, but I actually did not know how bad it was. So it came out at the end, and I found out things. And I guess when we get to that point, how I felt and how I grieved, I was so angry because I would have helped.
You wish you had known. So this was not
Yeah.
something that your family was aware of or even knew that was happening with him. This was like a double
It
life that he was
well,
leading.
he was very active. He was
Hmm.
on the track team, and he was great at it, loved it. But then he ended up having a health issue. I don't know the exact terminology. I kind of wish Jason was here because he's a nurse. What happened was that his intestines intertwined in a way where he had to have part of his colon taken out.
Oh
And that
wow.
basically ended anything he was doing with track and stuff. So I think maybe with the gambling, it just maybe he was filling a void or something. That's the only thing I can interpret. Because of his health, he stopped going to school. And I think he just spiraled on his own and just didn't tell anyone because he always hid behind a smile all the time.
If you've lost a sibling, trust me, I know exactly how you feel. I'm Maya. I'm the host of the Surviving Siblings podcast, but I'm also the founder of Surviving Siblings Support. I know that going through this experience is extremely difficult, whether you've lost a brother like me, a sister, or perhaps more than one sibling. Trust me, we know exactly how you feel. So that's why I started our Patreon account. You can click below to find out more about our Patreon. If you join our Patreon group, it'll give you just a little bit of extra support that you need along your journey as a bereaved sibling, or as we like to call it, a surviving sibling. We offer monthly support groups. We offer a free copy of our grief guide that is actually found on Amazon. It's called the Grief Guide for Surviving Siblings. We also offer direct messaging to our community and to me for extra support. And we have incredible events. We have workshops throughout the year that you'll get access to, and you'll also have access to our summit that happens annually. And so much more as you'll connect with a community of surviving siblings that understand the journey of losing a sibling. You can click below to join us today and also check out some additional VIP features that we offer. I hope to see you in the group, and until then, keep on surviving, my surviving siblings.
So in high school, when this happened, so he was an athlete, right? So that was like his identity. And then
Yeah.
he was diagnosed with this and he had to have surgery. And then that's when you and your brother felt like a big shift in the family. I'm sure
Yeah.
felt a shift with Justin and he wasn't himself anymore.
Yeah. And then also, like, I had my own life. I got pregnant. I had my own family. I had my own things going on. So did Jason. So I think it was just, and he hid behind this smile. So we really didn't know how much turmoil was within him. I wish he would have told me, because I would have listened. There's things I've told him he's taken to the grave, I guess you can say. So we were that close. So that's what made me really upset with the whole situation when everything happened.
Right. So let's go into that. Let's go into that part of your story. So take us to the moment that you want to start telling us about how you lost Justin. Take us through that story.
Sure. So around that time, 2013, I was basically in the best shape of my life. I just had my second child in 2010. So she was around 2.5. I lost all the weight. And also, this is obviously, I should have mentioned this too. He was in a relationship and he was engaged, and he was a month out from being married when this all happened. We just had the bridal shower. I picked up my dress. We were getting hair appointments. Everything was like in place. So, and I just became a Zumba instructor. I just got a new job. I'm a bookkeeper. So I got a job at a firm. So, like, basically everything was like great. So now around this time, he was supposed to graduate college. So I was like, oh, I just got a new job. What time's the graduation? I can't wait to see you walk. It was all this going on. So, and he's, oh, no, you don't have to come to my graduation. I was like, no, I want to. So then it was May 17th. My uncle's birthday was just the day prior to. And I was just doing my normal Friday thing. I went to work. I went and cashed my check. I went and I taught a Zumba class. And then I get a phone call from his fiance. I'm going to call her Jane because I don't want to give her real name. So
Obviously, yes.
I'm going to call her Jane. She calls me and says, have you seen Justin? I was like, no. She's, well, he's not home. My car is gone. I said, haven't heard from him. I don't know. I was like, I just got home from class. So now we're all, and my mother and my stepfather are also up in Albany. My stepsister just graduated. So they're not even home either. And now everyone's frantically trying to call him. No answer, no answer. And my husband, he worked overnight at the time. So do you want me to stay? I'm like, no, just, I don't know. Maybe he's having cold feet. He's getting married in a month. He's fine. So now we're waiting. Everyone's calling. And then I get a call from my father at midnight, and he's dead. And I was like, what do you mean he's dead? Like, you dead? Like, he found him and I'm going to beat him up? He's like, no, he's dead. And I just blacked out. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then basically my father found him in the woods, hung from a tree.
And this is your parents were married to other people, as you had shared
Correct.
with me.
So this is my biological father who found him in the woods. They happened to find the car, and they just happened to just look around the area. And for some reason, my father had instincts to go into the woods, and that's where he found him. I'm screaming, I'm crying. I called my husband, so he rushed home. My best friend came over. She basically ran red lights to get to me because I called her too, saying he's missing. I don't know where he is. So she rushed over and waited with me until my husband got home.
Well, we love your friend. What a great friend, right?
Yeah, my ride and die. Yeah,
your ride and die. I love that. Yes. And what is her name?
Nicole.
Nicole, we love you, Nicole. It's those friends that really help us during these times. Oh my God, your poor father, Dawn. Okay. So
Yeah.
does he share with you at that time what he found in the woods? Does he
I
share with you how your brother passed or
No, well, he was old, obviously distraught at the moment, and I hung up because I was just like wailing. I
in
couldn't
shock?
even
I'm sure you're
speak.
shocked.
And
Yeah.
my daughters at the time, one was 2.5 and the other one was 6, like
Mhm.
5, 6, because they're fall babies. So I'm screaming, I'm crying. I tell them to go back to bed. I'm trying to compose myself because I'm by myself. And I cried all night. I just cried all night.
And you had this amazing friend that came over,
Yeah.
your ride or die, which thank God for her. So you guys, you made it through the night, and obviously it's very challenging. So what happened next, and when did you learn more about the situation?
Well, the next day I went to my mother's, obviously. She had to come back down from Albany. So we met up at my mother's and it was just crying. There was like no talking. I didn't get the full details until I talked to my other brother. And I couldn't believe it. The only thing they found on his person was a duffel bag and it also had lottery tickets signed over to Jane, like in case he won it. So we couldn't put like A to B to see like why he would even do this.
Mhm.
So basically everything happened quickly. His funeral was on the 22nd, and one thing I remembered was when I first saw his body in the coffin. He was cremated, but at the wake, his face, it was like he wasn't smiling. And I remember going to the funeral director, like, you have whatever you need to do, take the stitches and whatever. I was like, you got to change his mouth. I can't see him frowning. And they actually were amazing, and they actually fixed his mouth
Mhm.
that day. And then when I went to the wake the following, so they were wonderful. The funeral, the parlor, they were excellent. And I just was like yelling. I was like, please wake up, please. I was just a mess.
Mhm.
And as I guess you can say, as the oldest yourself, I got to the point where like I had to start being strong for everybody.
Yeah. No, I completely relate to that. I think I still carry that, and you probably feel the same
Hmm.
way. 12 years later, like you're still carrying that role. I think it's just a part of who we are and where you're built into the family. I totally understand
Right.
that. I want to go back for a
Yeah.
second though, Dawn, before we go
Yeah.
forward. So, Jason, your other brother, is the
Hmm.
one who shared with you that your brother was found in the woods, because I want to be
Yeah.
very clear about how, so
Yes.
he hung
Because
himself in the woods,
yeah,
right? And
because
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
because he met up with my father after he got the phone call. I
Wow.
was home alone, and I know obviously I'm visually impaired, so I don't drive, and my kids were home and I couldn't leave them, obviously.
Yes.
So I was stuck at my place. But
Mhm.
I got the information from Jason because he went to the spot where it happened. So
Wow.
he told me
Yeah. And you mentioned that there was like a bag with these tickets
a
signed over
duffel
to
bag,
Jane.
yeah, full,
Right.
yeah, just with lottery tickets and nothing else really.
There was no note, there was nothing. It was just
No.
that. And was that in the car or that was near him? And
It was near him because he took it, like, deep into the woods. I don't know if they never found the car, like, I don't know if they would've even found him. It's just the grace of God that we did find him.
right.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know if the way he did it, like, he even wanted to be found, in a
Right.
way.
People listening to this, or people that have gone through this or lost someone to suicide, will connect with that, Dawn, because yeah, you just, and we're going to talk about this as we move forward, but
Mhm.
there's so many unanswered questions when you lose someone
Yeah.
like this, which we'll
Mhm.
talk about as you continue down your story. So,
Yeah.
yes, so you have a wake, but
Mhm.
he was cremated after the wake, is what you were sharing. But
Yes.
what
Mhm.
beautiful folks that they were like, you were like, I don't like, and you did definitely go into eldest child syndrome, like I always
Oh,
do. No, I don't like the way he looks. I want him to look
no,
like this. Like,
it was like I saw him, I went to the bathroom, I threw up, and then I talked to the funeral director. You got to change his mouth. I can't even look at him. And my poor father, he never even went into the room because he couldn't look at him in the
yeah,
coffin. Like the funeral director closed the lid for him so he can actually go into the room, and which is understandable. I'm a parent, so I couldn't even imagine losing a child.
right.
But with this platform, when you lose a sibling, it's like a snowflake. Like all are like, even if you're the oldest with your brother, it's still a different relationship that I have with my brother. It's like this
Yeah.
unique relationship that
Hmm.
no one can understand. You could listen and sympathize, but the understanding of the actual relationship is just so unique on what I lost.
I love that you say that. Dawn, we just met recently, and I say that too. I know you don't know that, but I say it's like grief is like a snowflake. So that's so weird that you said that. I love that. That's so cool. But it
I'm
is true.
theatrical, so I love, like, I'm all about symbols and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I love that you said that though, because there's no way you could have known that I say that. But yeah, I say the same thing. And I love that you have your own spin on it where you're like, the relationship is like a snowflake. You're right.
Mhm,
It's so unique. It's so interesting that you say that because I tell people all the time, especially when they have other surviving siblings like you do, I'm like, look, and they get upset because they say things like, well, my other sister isn't grieving my sister or my brother the same way as me. I'm like, yeah, because
mhm,
their relationship, like you said so beautifully,
right.
is it's a different version. It's a different, no one
Mhm,
else is going to grieve that same person the way that you're going to grieve them because you
yeah.
have a unique relationship. I think you just totally hit that on the nail. Yeah.
Yeah, like, one example, throughout the first year of everything, I actually found a nonprofit called, it was basically a survivor suicide grief group, and they had a
Hmm.
convention. So I went to the convention. I'm like, you know what, maybe this will help. And during the convention, they broke out into subcategories. So obviously I went with the siblings, and I still wasn't connecting because
Why do you think that was?
I just, like I said, like, no one could understand the relationship, and a lot of it was, like, not suicide, not gambling, not, so everyone's
Oh,
story
yeah.
had a unique story,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I'm still not connecting.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that because it's so important on this show that we have folks that represent each type of loss because you're right. Like most events that you go to, it's done by, there's different support groups for different things. They lump the sibling loss all together. And while there are things that we can connect with, oh, I lost my brother, you lost your brother, there are unique things in our losses that are different. And connecting with those people that understand, like for you to connect with someone that lost their brother by suicide and in the same way in suicide, and also someone who went through gambling and all, you're going to connect on a deeper level than you're going to connect with myself or a sibling
Mhm.
that lost a sibling to cancer. Or so I thank you for
Right.
mentioning that. I think that's why there's power in representation and sharing so many different
Mhm.
types of sibling stories because there's a lot
Yeah.
of different ways we can lose our siblings. Mm.
Yeah, and plus another thing that we dealt with at the very beginning with the loss was that I felt like my parents were very, not, I don't know, ashamed is a word, but it's like when you're a parent, you're like, "Oh my god, this was like all my fault because I was the parent." They didn't
Right.
want us to say anything. They just wanted us to say, "Oh, he was sick," not the actual truth. So
Yeah.
doing this podcast, it's like I'm telling the world, like, "No, this is what happened." And
Mhm.
I'm not ashamed of saying it. It happened, and it's real.
Right. So even when you, and this is very common, Dawn, so I appreciate you sharing this
Mhm,
too, because I hear this from, and I'm sure a lot of you guys went through this, where mom, dad, maybe the Jane in the family, right? Like
mhm,
the soon to be wife, they don't want to talk about that. And that's okay because that's their part, but it can be really difficult for a surviving sibling like yourself and like me, where we want to be honest because we feel like
mhm.
there's no shame and we want to bring awareness and we don't want
Right.
other people to go through this. Because you were mentioning earlier when we were chatting about you just wish Justin would have chatted with you and opened up to you and let you know.
Yeah.
So take us down that because I feel like that's a good transition. So
Yeah,
as the days were
definitely.
like, when were you starting to find out about all of this? Share that with us if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, well, that's a perfect way of going into what happened after the funeral. So
Hmm.
Jane basically went to his job to clean out his locker, and she found, like, resume paper that was open, which was weird to her. And basically, also what happened was my mother called the college to say, this happened. He's deceased. We want to collect his diploma. So now they tell my mother he dropped out a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And my mom's, what do you mean? He was supposed to graduate. He has a diploma that he showed me a picture of it, and he never graduated. He dropped out, didn't tell anyone. So this is where the part of what he was hiding, and I guess it ate up at him on top of whatever gambling debt he now also allocated that we didn't know about. Because my parents, I found out down the road, they did find out about one time he had a really bad debt and they cashed him out. And then he got back into a hole again. And the fiance, Jane, she didn't know about it either. So I think what happened was, now, like when I was going back to what I was saying before about things that were going on and saying, oh, I want to come to your graduation and everything. He did this before the actual graduation date, because it would have all came out that I didn't graduate. I dropped out and I have all this gambling debt. So I think he just did want to face the disappointment.
And Jane didn't know about, she didn't know about any of this either. School,
No.
nothing. She didn't know anything.
No, he would disappear like he was going to classes, basically.
So did you guys, where was he going? He was gambling?
We
Is
don't
that what it
know.
was?
That these are a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know what he did during the day. We don't know.
Yeah. And
And
those are very
yeah,
challenging, the unanswered
is.
questions. Yeah.
Because this is something he could have come like, Dawn, like I don't feel good. I dropped out. I'm gambling again. Which, like, these are things he could have came to me, and I would have never judged him or said, "Oh my God, you shouldn't be doing this again." I would have been there for him.
Mm-hmm. So Jane shared this with the family, right, as she found this. And so you
Yeah.
guys, I'm sure you just kept peeling back all of this. So what, as you guys were peeling this back, how did you guys keep evolving, and how did you keep, I'm sure it was just a lot of information to take in, but what was that like over the next year, and how were you guys communicating about this?
Well, it was like, I was very angry at the beginning, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was hard to deal with. And this is where my life, for my grief, took like a bad turn. Like I said, at the time before it happened, I was in a great shape of my life. I had a new job. I became a Zumba instructor. So what happened was, the day that he was supposed to get married, I decided, like, usually I have a very logical brain, but all logic in my brain with my grief just went out the window. I decided to do one of these mud runs. I don't know if you know what those are.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and everyone, it was like the Christmas Story movie where you're going to break your ankle. You're going to break your ankle. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be fine. I'm in good shape. I'm going to be fine. Because I didn't want to sit home and cry on the day of the wedding. I was like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
So I went with Jason upstate to the Catskills to do this mud run. I was doing great. I was going through all the obstacles, this and that. I get to the last obstacle. I scale a wall. I come down. My foot slips and I break my ankle in 2 places. And the finish line, I could see it, basically. I wanted to crawl to it, but I shattered my ankle, basically. So now, like, I feel like I failed. I'm like, I failed him. I didn't finish this. So basically, my broken ankle, it cost me my job. I lost my job. Couldn't teach Zumba anymore. And and it happened like 2 weeks before my birthday. I was in surgery on my birthday that year. So it was like the worst birthday ever.
Yeah.
And going back to like why I like doing this podcast now is that all of our birthdays, me, Jason, and Justin's birthdays were in August. Jason's the 23rd and Justin was the 31st. So we always said like he was just in time for August. That was like our little thing.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
just in time.
In time.
Yeah. I love it. That's so,
So-
cute. And your birthday, to share with us, Dawn,
Was the
is
7th. It just passed. So we're all
just
August
passed.
babies. Yeah.
Yes.
So it was really bad because I became very depressed, obviously. I ate a lot. I gained a lot of weight back. And then after my ankle healed, I actually became pregnant with my 3rd child. So I named her after him. So her name's Justine. So I named her.
I was like,
after
it's
him.
either Justine or Justina. I was like, okay.
Well, we did Justine because my last name's Spina, so we didn't want it to be Justina Spina. That was going to be a little too much.
That would have been a rhyme at school, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, and her middle name, like his middle name was Brian, so we gave her the middle name Brianna. So we fully named her after him, and she looks like him, which is really, this is like with symbols, which is really strange. She's also left-handed like him. Her smile looks like him. So it's like, it was like weird little things like that as she started growing up.
That is really cool, though. Thanks for sharing that with us because I get this question a lot from people, or people just want to talk about it. You guys who listen, they ask, will it be too hard if I name my child after
Hmm.
my, and I think you tell me because you've done this. I have not done this, Dawn. I think it's personal, right? Because I think it's for some people. And I think for some people, because my youngest sister, she doesn't mind me sharing this. Her first child, she named after my brother, but she gave
Hmm.
his name for the middle name, right? She was like, I think it'll be too hard for me because I'm still newly bereaved to call our brother's name every day. But it's interesting because now that my nephew is 4, if he gets in trouble, she says his full name. And
Mm.
so I asked her when I was visiting this time recently, I said, is it hard for you to say, our brother's name? She goes, now, no, but I know I made the right decision at the time. And that was her decision. But I think it depends on the person. And for you, I'm assuming you just felt like this was right. But has it ever been hard for you? Is it bittersweet sometimes, or is it a good thing for you to have someone
No,
like
it
this?
just it was just right. Like when I became pregnant, it's like I have to name if it's a boy or girl somehow. Like my husband's name is Douglas, so if it would have ended up being a boy, we would have made it the middle name. So, and it was just like I knew it was the right thing to do. It was just so natural. It was like the first thing I thought of when became pregnant. I was like, gonna name the baby after him.
Yeah. I connect with that too because that's always been my thing too. I'm like, whatever happens, if I have a child, like it's going to be something around my brother. So I
Yeah.
connect with that.
And my
And a lot
daughter
of
did. She did bring a lot of happiness back into the grief that we were all in because she was born basically a little over a year and a half after he passed.
That was literally my next thing I was going
Yeah.
into. I wanted to ask you that because I've had other people, even on this season, talk about how difficult, obviously, we're talking about sibling loss. We all talk about how difficult
Hmm.
it is, but talking about the joy of bringing life in when you're going through such a dark period and it can be such a light. And so that was your experience with bringing Justine into the world
Yeah.
very shortly after because you're deep in grief. So, can you share a little bit more about that with us, Dawn? Because I have a lot of women that listen that are pregnant during the time of the loss or pregnant thereafter or very soon. And it's difficult because you're holding this great pain of losing your brother or sister, but you're also holding so much joy of bringing new life in. Can
Hmm.
you share a little bit about that? And can you give some advice to these women going through that? Because I think it is difficult because you're holding two very extreme emotions, right? You're
Hmm.
holding this pain of a deep loss, but you're also bringing in a new life, which, I mean, what's more joyful than that?
Yeah. Well, like that's why I said like why I think when I named her after him, it was like I had a part of him back in a
Mhm.
way. So I think that's how I took it. It was nice. It was nice to smile about something, to be happy about something.
Yeah. How did you manage that though while you were grieving and also being pregnant? Because that's something that comes up a lot with our listeners. How did you
I mean, it
navigate
was
that?
yeah, I can't remember exactly all my emotions because it was 12 years ago,
Yeah.
but I got through it. The pregnancy wasn't hard and it was just I enjoyed being pregnant. It was just like I felt happy, but I still did have my moments through the first holidays, the first anniversary of his death. So those moments I dealt with, I think, and then also like being the older sibling, I was also still being strong for everyone as they grieved. So I felt, I'm sure you've talked to other people, like I fell into that category where I took care of others before my own grief.
So, yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. And I think, yeah, so many of us, especially the eldest in the
Hmm.
family, we put everyone before ourselves. And did you find that prolonged your grief a little bit? Or what was your experience with that?
It did. It really prolonged a long time because a lot of it, like, I prolonged it because a lot of stuff was happening in my life. Like I mentioned before, I had a really bad eye infection from a surgery. I just moved into a bigger house. So it was like I put my grief on the back burner, but it was still festering in there, but it was just forgotten about because I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't as active. I became very robotic, just moving through the motions of the day. having 3 kids now. So I got to the point where I was like, when I gained, it was like 80 pounds or something, and I just stepped in, I can't do this anymore. I have to deal with this. And I just started talking the truth about it. He committed suicide. He wasn't sick.
When was
And
that? Because that's a big moment. You're looking at the
um
scale. I gained this
yeah,
weight. It was like, I'm gonna,
yeah.
because our body physically manifests this stuff. And that's what was going on for
Um
you, it sounds.
yeah, and the weird part, it wasn't any type of grief counseling. It was actually Weight Watchers is where I first really talked about it.
I
And
love
I
that.
really, yeah, yeah, and it really didn't really hit me how much on the back burner my emotions were about that, and how much of the weight was really the weight on my shoulders, and the physical weight was on me. And when I started really telling people about my life and everything at these Weight Watchers, like, the weight just started coming off because I was sharing. I was really sharing.
And you were shedding
Yeah.
all of this out of you
Mhm.
were emotionally releasing. And it's interesting what happens because you were, and then it just, because you were holding this in. Wow. I'm so glad you shared this part of your story because
Yeah.
I, that obviously was a contributing factor, having to hold all of this in. So at what point was that? So 2013, obviously, May is when we talked about
Mhm.
Justin, but at what point was that? A year, two, three?
Oh,
Where were you at?
it was like 2019. It was way
Wow.
after. It was just I can't do this no more. It was
Years.
just way after.
6 years, Dawn.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's when, like, things I was like, I can't lie to my, not only to just like myself, but just anyone I talk to about it. And it just felt better. I felt better about myself, like, saying this is what really happened. But I still have my moments. I still, like, basically his ashes were, they're not in one urn. Like, I have a little one, and some of his ashes were put at a plot where my parents will be eventually buried. So I'll yell at him and stuff like that. So
That's okay. I do the same
yeah.
thing to my brother. I have a little urn
Yeah.
too. I don't know if you know that, but I have a little urn too.
No.
And yeah, my brother's ashes, like everybody did their own thing. Like a lot of my brother's ashes are in a creek, which a lot of you guys know, which I go to every year on his
Hmm.
anniversary. That's where we did his celebration of life. But I have a little urn. My dad got a little urn, and anybody else who
Hmm.
wanted some of the ashes got it. But
Hmm.
I think I'm the only one still with my urn. My father has the urn, but he spread his ashes in Africa. But I think I talked to him too. I
Yeah,
talked to him too, so I relate to that.
mine's like on my kitchen, like, windowsill, so I see it every day. And when my middle child, Victoria, she used to play basketball in middle school, and she got to the champion, so I brought the urn with me. Come on, help her out.
I
So,
love that. Oh my god, that's so cool. I love that. I really love that you're sharing about
mhm,
6 years later because so
yeah,
many of you guys who listen to the show, there's so much pressure, Dawn, from society and just
mm,
not understanding grief. It's been a year, you should be over this. It's been 2 years,
mhm,
get over it. And I think it's really amazing that you're sharing that 6 years in, you had
yeah,
this moment where had gained emotional and physical weight, like what you were carrying. Like my shoulders feel so much lighter you just sharing this part of your story because there's no timeline. Everybody has
no,
their own timeline. Just like you shared that the relationships are like snowflakes, I feel like your timeline is like a snowflake too, because it's
mhm.
so unique to your own experience. And you were having to not be fully honest about how you lost your brother. Like, what a big thing to be carrying around.
And I like what you mentioned about society, because it's also like, how does society view suicide too? Some
I
people
definitely
think
want
it's,
to touch
you
on
know,
that. I
yeah,
definitely want to touch on that
yeah,
because I think in 2025 we're doing better than ever, but I feel like it can always get so much better because I still feel like there's stigma around it and I don't think there should be at all. But back in 2013 when you lost Justin by suicide, please, we were not like, we've done leaps and bounds in 12 years, we have a long way to go, but I do have empathy and I understand where your parents are coming from because there's stigma around it even today, and I hate that
hmm,
so much because it's such a difficult loss because of all of the
yeah,
unanswered questions, and because as a surviving sibling you feel like you shared this earlier, so I want to dial into this again. you feel if you would just talk to me, Justin, did you live with this guilt? If I had just known, if I had just, I could have changed this. Did you live with that, Dawn? How was
Oh,
that for you?
like every day when I have my moments, you should just talk to me. And like sometimes like lights will blink in my house. I'm like, oh, hi, are you visiting me today? Oh, you decided to talk to me today. So it's like even in the afterlife, I'll be like busting his
Yeah.
chops, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you two were pranksters, so that of course would translate.
Yeah. When my daughters were young, we had a huge toy box. Like the toys would just turn on by themselves. I would be taking batteries out of everything, very child play.
Mhm.
So it was just like, stop it. Stop turning the toys on.
I love that though. I think that's really cool because we talk a lot about signs too,
Yeah.
and I do believe in them. Not everybody
Yeah.
does, but I do. But how? Share with us, Dawn. How did you? I'm sure. I think from what I know, I think it always stays with you, right? Like that feeling of if he had just talked to me, or if I just known, like I could fix it. But and I. How have you been able to move through that though? Because I don't think you fully ever get over that, but I do think that you're sharing your story with us so openly today. I
Mhm.
do think you get to a point where you can move through it. And that's one of the number one things I get asked by people who have lost a sibling by suicide. They're like, how do I get past feeling guilty? Like I could have changed something. Can you share some advice on that or how you've gotten past that?
I think it does still go back to that point when I was at Weight Watchers. It's just talking about it. Just talk about it. No, the good and the bad and the ugly. It's all there. And without talking about it, you're never really going to deal with it. It's just being honest. You can't change what happened, but you could still talk about it.
Yeah. I love that. And I think there is in your story, I think there's a moment where you like when you saw like what it was doing to you physically and like you needed
Hmm.
community. And what I love about you going to Weight Watchers is I say all the time, I'm like, community is the best thing that you can do for yourself. It might not, maybe it's not like for you, it wasn't a sibling support thing that didn't work out that way. It turned out to be Weight Watchers. And I think people underestimate the power of community. And it might not be like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, maybe it's not a suicide group, maybe it's not a sibling loss group, but community is life changing. And your story shows that because when you connect with other people, it helps tremendously in the healing journey. And it
Yeah,
obviously is evident in your story.
and obviously your podcast is doing that for everyone who listens to it and anyone who actually comes on and does this with you.
That's the goal. And so
Yeah.
we're here 8 seasons later, and I feel so honored that folks like you, Don, want to share their story and be so open because I find that's what we need more than anything else in life is to know that someone else has been through this. We're not alone,
Hmm.
and they made it through, and we can too. There's power in that. I think it's amazing. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about this is something that comes up too a lot, Donna. You touched on this, but I want to go back to it. The unanswered questions, that
Hmm.
part of losing a sibling by suicide, like
Hmm.
the duffel bag with the lotto going to Jane and all those unanswered questions. How have you navigated that?
It's hard to not navigate because it went against his personality to hide things like that, especially something like that from me. I just couldn't understand it. I still can't understand it until this day because you try to go back, and I think that's the hardest thing about suicide is that you're always going saying the what ifs and the what ifs, and those things just can never change no matter how much you want to change those questions. It's you just have to like, not accept it, but it's like it's just always going to be there, those
Mhm.
questions, and I wish I could answer them. And I'm sure anyone who's had lost anyone, whether it's a sibling or anyone else, a friend, to that, it's like they're always going to have, why did they do that? Why didn't they talk to me?
But you feel like talking about it and finding community and people around you, that was the turning point for you and being able to,
Definitely. Like
you
I
know,
found
like,
like I was crying less. Like I could just talk about them. Cause, and I think also leaving the apartment where I used to live in 2016, where I got the news, I think that kind of eased the pain too, because I wasn't in that same room when I got the news. I think being away from there and my environment changing also helped me as well, because I don't know if you ever had that moment where you're like, this is where I was, like the 9/11 thing. Like, I know exactly where I was at what time, what it felt like, what was going on that exact moment.
100%. Thank you for bringing that up, because I 100% relate to that. And I know a lot of people here can relate to that too, listening. I was at a friend's house when I got that call, and I haven't been to that house in years. And even more so, the condo that I was living in at that time, I didn't realize this, but I probably should have sold it a long time ago. I sold it in 2020 or 21. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but with family coming there and going through, like, we were going back and forth I wasn't going back and forth, they were, but that was where I was, where he was in the hospital for a couple of days, even though he was just waiting for family to say goodbye. And I didn't realize staying in that place for longer than I probably should have, because I was there for another 4 or 5 years. Probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah. So I think, like, I thank you for, I've never talked about that with someone before. So I'm glad we're talking about it, because sometimes you just need those changes, right? I think that can help propel you a little bit forward in your grief journey too, because being in that place it's a constant reminder.
Yeah, well, because going back to when I broke my ankle, now I have steel rods in my ankle, so that's always there to remind me if I get a twinge in my ankle, why it's there too. So I always
Yeah.
get these little reminders all the time.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about where you're at today, Dawn. Thank you for sharing
Mhm.
Justin with us. It's been
Yep.
so amazing. But tell us where you are today, and also tell us any advice that you have for siblings that are listening that have lost a sibling by suicide. I really would love for you to share that.
Well, right now I'm actually back in school. I'm working on my master's for accounting. I actually work with my stepfather. He's a CPA and he owns his own private firm. And my stepbrother, he's certified now too. So we're trying to help him get into retirement. And I should be certified in a couple of years or so. So I'm working on that right now. And yeah, just getting my life together from where I was, which is really good. And my kids are older and all grown up. So now I can really now concentrate on myself, which, like I said back then, I wasn't putting myself first. I'm going to the gym. I'm taking time to take care of myself. And I think, any advice I could give is just to be open and honest and not to be afraid to talk about what has happened, whether it's suicide or illness. Just talk, just find your people.
Yeah, I just love that. I feel like this episode is really based on not just losing a sibling by suicide, but finding your people, finding your community. I love that message. I think it's so important. Dawn, where are you comfortable with people reaching out to you? Email, social media, what's best for you if you want to call it out? And we'll put it in the show notes
Oh,
for
yeah,
those of
sure.
you.
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, just under my name, Dawn Spina. If you Google it, I'll pop up. But my email is mfwbookkeeper@aol.com if anyone wants to reach out.
Perfect. We'll put it in the show notes. And I think your episode will really resonate with so many people, especially those folks that have lost a brother or sister by suicide. It's such a deep and tragic loss. And I really appreciate you sharing your family and Justin with us today. And thanks for being here, Dawn.
Oh, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening to the Surviving Siblings podcast. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did creating it for you, then share it on your chosen social media platform. And don't forget to tag us at Surviving Siblings Podcast so that more surviving siblings can find us. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Surviving Siblings Podcast. All links can be found in the show notes, so be sure to check those out too. Thank you again for the support. Until the next episode, keep on surviving, my surviving siblings.